Hi guys, and welcome to Katie's Insight, where I give my insight on all kinds of things, including news, business, finance, politics, entertainment. Most importantly, right now, as you know, it is going to be stimulus and also the election, because they go hand in hand. I've been saying it for months, and it never makes me happy to say it, but I'm gonna keep saying it. Translation, I'm just gonna make myself depressed while I talk to you. But how can I be? It's Rainbow Shirt Day! If you guys didn't see my other video, I don't know when I'm putting it up, but I filmed it when I just woke up. So by the way, if my hair looks fuller, if I look more awake and sound more awake now, in that video I was like, I just woke up. I'm in yesterday's hair. Y'all ever do that? Yesterday's makeup and yesterday's hair. Well, I don't have to worry about the makeup, because when I was younger, I just gave up. I'm so white that everything's just Oompa Loompa orange on me, and I'm not a visual person or like an aesthetic person when it comes to doing things with my hands. So I gave up, and I was like, I'm just gonna rock this mug and see what happens. Luckily, it's worked for me. It's all right. Everything could always use improvement, but at the same time, I don't care. At some point, we're all leaving these meat sacks anyway, so let's just enjoy our time here while we have it. What was I talking about? Stimulus. We have a lot to go over. There is a lot happening. I did not think there would be a lot happening. It's weird. Every time I start to think, okay, it's gonna slow down and die, boom, this stuff picked back up for a while. So where are we at, and what am I talking about when it comes to stimulus? So I'm seeing more and more signs, guys, that we're gonna be getting possibly some emergency help coming. Now, for a while, didn't see anything. It was dead. And you guys know how I am. I'm gonna be real with you, and I'm gonna report what I see, and I wanna make sure and get that information to you guys. But it was kind of dead, and it's picking up now, and I'm actually seeing some signs we may be getting emergency help, emergency stimulus. If not from Trump, I know, I've been saying I didn't think he would help, so I want you to hear me out on this, then the Treasury and the Fed, because there's more movement there. And I've been saying all year, they can issue their own forms of stimulus if they see fit. So I'm gonna go into detail about that. But before I do, guys, I wanna let you know, I'm giving away a $100 gift card. It's very simple. To be eligible, all you have to do, like every video you see, subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, sound off in the comments. Let me know exactly what you think. And please share this content with anybody you know that you think could benefit from this. People on unemployment, waiting for employment, stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, bail issues, everything in between. I've got tons of tools and tons of resources to help you guys through this incredibly difficult time. And for the gift card, so simple. Like the video, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom, you're entered, you're eligible. Just like I said earlier, that's all you have to do. Now here's the cool thing. The more comments you leave, the more chances you have of winning a gift card. If you leave 100 comments, you have 100 times more chance to win a gift card. It helps me grow the channel. The more I grow the channel, the more money I can give to you guys and help you with things. So yay, good luck. I hope we all win. I hope my channel explodes and I can give back to y'all. We would all win, right? At least that's my goal. And we can all wear rainbow shirts if you so choose. You can look like a rainbow sunset like me. Okay, or maybe you're an adult that doesn't want to look that way, and that's okay too. I feel like I never grew up from being 5. When I was 5, I firmly believed humans can fly, and this is just silly. This is just ineffectual that we're not flying. So I have very weak ankles from jumping off of very high spaces, thinking if I just believe enough, I'll be floating around. Nope, that just causes for very weak ankles. A lot of sprained ankles when I was little. Let's talk stimulus. Where are we at? So as we know, when it comes to everything going on right now in the federal government, it's been at a complete standstill. Thumbs down, double raspberry standstill until recently. So what happened recently? Well, as you guys know, we have major important programs ending on December 31st. Now, what's interesting is a lot of us on the stimulus channels, we've been focused on only one area of what's ending. And really, it's what's important to you guys, because who cares about the rich a-holes at the top who are just gonna get richer while we suffer, because that's typically what happens, because welcome to America, right? So we've been focused on the fact that unemployment, several things about unemployment are ending. The PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or for some people, like in my area, it's called the DUA, Disaster Unemployment Assistance. That is ending, getting nixed, gone. So that's gonna be one thing that is going to be out the door. So the second thing that's going to be ending is student loan debt help. And the third thing is the mortgage and rent help. However, that really hasn't done much because there were so many loopholes in it. So many people got kicked out. Like my heart breaks, y'all. When I hear these and see these messages from you guys, I'm writing this in my car. I watch your videos in my car, and I want you to know I've lived out of my car before. I've done it as a single white female, and I have all the love and respect in the world for you guys, and stay safe, and we're all praying for you. It makes me so sad that we're at this time in our evolution of humanity where I have to say that. The only good thing I can say is I hope this helps us in this country be able to stand up and actually make positive changes. I hope this is the push we need. Almost like how a bad relationship the things that can be good from it, like the silver linings, right? Not that it's good to have a bad relationship, but you can walk away and you can have more understanding of how to have more love for yourself, right? That's kind of what I'm hoping and wishing for humanity. I'm always trying to find the bright spots in the situations if I possibly can. So here's where we are at. All these programs are ending. People are getting worried. Oh, with unemployment, the extended benefits. So many people were on extended benefits. That's going to end. What do? It's been very, very scary. But we have other programs ending. In fact, there's going to be a few different programs. At some point, I need to go through and dissect the CARES Act and to see all the programs being set up, because almost all of these programs are ending for the CARES Act on December 31st, 2020. They were only designed for this year. And so much of that money, as we know, hasn't been spent. It's been allocated, but it hasn't been spent. So here's the big news. You guys know I told you Manouchian's my boy. Manouche, the lady cleaner. Please infer. I know YouTube would be mad at me. I don't know if they'd be mad if I said it, but I'm not going to test it. Yes, we know how YouTube this. So just, wait, mentally, like telepathically pick up. Manouche there you go. I hope you heard it, and I hope you heard me giggle as I said. I did. I giggled in my head for you guys when I sent you that thought, because it's a thing. Science exists, and so do my fantasies. Hold on. Dryness. Welcome, November 2020. Also, sound off in the comments. What are y'all doing for Thanksgiving? Are y'all going to be around? I can make stimulus videos, because I was thinking, I'm like, it's a holiday. People don't typically watch videos on the holidays on YouTube. But then I was like, but wait a minute. I don't think a lot of people are celebrating, because, you know, we live in a crazy time right now. Sound off if you would like stimulus videos during Thanksgiving, because I'd be happy to make some. Or even just a couple personal videos I was thinking about. So let me know, and let me know what you guys are doing. Are you guys having get-togethers? Are you guys having plans? I'm not here to say I'm for or against anything. If I'm for anything, it's the American people. If I'm against anything, it's big media. So just so we're very clear. But okay, let's talk about Manouche, the lady cleaner. I don't know what else to say. He is stepping up on behalf of the American people, and I, for one, am standing up and cheering and applauding him. I am so happy for our boy, and I am happy he is trying to help us. So what's Steve Mnuchin, what's he into now? What's he doing? So here's the situation. So Mnuchin has been integral in helping not just craft the legislation of the CARES Act. So he was one of the people that was actually helping write the bill. So he knows what the law was supposed to say and how it's interpreted. He also got, I think, $600 billion-ish and gave to the Fed to do different programs to help the economy. Well, there's something like 450 to 500 billion left that's been unspent, and almost all the programs did not help. Double raspberry fail, guy. They just didn't help. And in fact, they ended up helping, as it always is, the rich. I'm not going to go into every program and all the bonds they buy and the junk bonds and things to prop up the economy. But what I do want to go into is, and I've been talking about this, and I've been talking about this for a while, the Main Street Lending Program. So this was one that if you heard those hearings that Mnuchin would be at when it came to the CARES Act spending and the money, he would talk, you know, that he'd be grilled and asked questions about this, and he'd bring this up, that this is going to be helping small and mid-sized businesses. Unfortunately, and this is kind of what me and other people predicted when we saw the layout of this, that's not what this looked like. I was like, this is going to be basically really cheap loans that really don't have to be paid back for big business. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, 95% of the businesses who are asking for help for the Main Street Lending Program are getting rejected. And it's only the big corporations at the top who don't need the help, who are getting cheap money for free. It doesn't help anybody. And we know we have these big major programs about to end. We have these cliffs, you know, they call it the cliffs that we're all about to fall off of, right? So it's getting scary, y'all. Stuff's getting real. Like, if I'm being honest, stuff's getting real. So what do we do in this situation? What's going to happen? Very scary time. So here's where we're at. So we have this money that's sitting there, this 500 billion, and these programs aren't working to help people. Well, these programs as well are expiring December 31st, 2020. So Mnuchin has stepped up, and he has said, you know what? We need to get these funds back to Congress so they can be put in the pot as congressional money, and it can go to helping emergency stimulus relief. And one big thing he's been talking about helping is, drum roll, unemployment. Unemployment, guys. This, I'm telling you, this is huge. Huge. It's monumental, guys. This is really big, and it's very good for us, and I'm going to tell you why. And I've talked about this a little bit in the videos, but I wanted to give you guys just a little refresher of information so you understand. This is really good for us because the Republicans keep saying we have a bunch of unspent money from the CARES Act. Let's use that. And the Democrats want to spend too much. This will be an incentive for both sides to get in there and keep negotiating and get something done because now there's an extra $600 billion. And at this point, from where the White House was negotiating with the Democrats, they were only like $300 billion away. So this is great. And this means there's plenty of room for us to possibly get stimulus in December. Now, here's the other thing. You know my curmudgeon, Mitch McConnell, the really evil one who doesn't want to help starving kids. Don't worry, Nancy Pelosi's evil too. She's just backstabbing, conniving evil. Curmudgeon's just, I'm out there and I'm evil and I'm standing proud in my evilness evil. So, curmudgeon Mitch McConnell, who has not gone to one negotiating meeting between the White House and between the Democrats when they've been going in private and trying to negotiate and get a deal done. He won't do anything. Mitch McConnell, who calls himself happily and lovingly the Crypt Keeper because bills go to him to die. Yeah, that's the guy that we really want controlling things when people need help, right? This guy who he's got to be making $500,000 a year, minimum. These salaries, minimum at the Senate, start at like $179,000, so he's making probably $250,000 just from what he does in the Senate. And remember how little they work. All the big vacations they have to take, guys. It's so hard to be a senator. Y'all, these people. But he is now saying he is getting together with Steve Mnuchin, and they are crafting legislation. And this week, they're going to be meeting with Democrats, and they're going to be meeting with Pelosi and Schumer to try to get a deal done. You ready? Before the end of December. Yes, Queen! This is awesome. This is awesome, guys. So this means it is possible we may be getting a deal by the end of December. But of course, the media couldn't be madder at Mnuchin. Why would you be mad at him when the programs are expiring and for the laws of the CARES Act, they're expiring? And he's like, let's take that money and go help people. What is there to be mad at? I want to go ahead and pull it up. I started to dissect a little bit of this in my other video, but I was like, I'm going to save this for another one because I'm going to go in. I'm going to go ham. I love that. Ham. So this is from slate.com, and let's go into what this says in some of its ridiculosity. It says Steve Mnuchin is doing his part to sabotage the Biden administration on his way out the door. Give me a flippin' break. Guys, these are the headlines you're seeing right now about Steve Mnuchin. First of all, let me give you some insight. Steve Mnuchin is he's very well known for not taking a side. And in everybody I've seen operate, he's the one that I see that's really just trying to be on the side of helping the American public. Now, we've heard Biden has picked his own cabinet and somebody else for Treasury, which won't be Steve Mnuchin. But they're just so what they're saying is what Steve Mnuchin is just going to be how is this sabotaging Biden when Steve Mnuchin's just following the law? So let's dive into their logic. We can now add Steve Mnuchin to the list of Trump officials who are doing their part to undercut the next administration before moseying out the door. It's so dramatic, y'all. On Thursday evening, the Treasury Secretary announced that he would not agree to renew a series of lending efforts that the Federal Reserve began earlier this year in response to the virus crisis. A move that could hamstring the central bank's ability to stabilize the economy and financial markets if things get choppy again, once President-elect Joe Biden is in office. That's a bunch of horse crap. Here's why. Here's why it's horse crap. Because you guys remember the videos I did earlier. If you don't remember, go check those out where I'm talking, it was yesterday, where I'm talking about what's going on with Mnuchin and the Fed. So Mnuchin asked for that money back from the Fed. Right? In my video earlier, the Fed has agreed. This is fantastic. And both of them have stated in their letters, if the Fed needs more money, there is a pot of money. There is a pool of money. There is a fund, a stability fund for them to get into. So this is literally, where are the fact checkers, y'all? Where's the Facebook fact checkers on this? It makes me so mad. So they're acting like taking this money away is going to hurt the Fed. No, the Fed in their programs were hurting us. Mnuchin's taking that money to help, extend unemployment so people don't go further homeless. Because, the best thing for a pandemic is to make sure that you're not housed and you don't have enough money for food and medicine. That's the best thing for a pandemic. There's no I'm not left or right, guys. There's just no common sense in this. Suffice to say, None of the explanations Mnuchin has offered for the decision make much objective sense, which makes it hard to read it as anything other than an intentional act of sabotage. Oh God, so dramatic. When Congress passed the CARES Act earlier this year, it set aside $454 billion to jumpstart a handful of emergency credit programs through the Fed, including one that allowed it to buy corporate debt. Through the magic of leveraging guarantees, the money was actually enough to support up to $4 trillion of lending, a giant rocket launcher of cash, resting on the shoulders of Fed Chair Jerome Powell. And many progressives bemoan this as the corporate bailout portion of the law. So listen to this. Progressives said, well, all this money is just going to do is bail out corporations, which basically is what it's done. At the time, debt markets were seizing up as investors panicked over the accelerating pandemic. By promising to be a lender of the last resort for big companies, the Fed calmed Wall Street down, and pretty soon, credit began flowing again like normal, helping to prevent further economic catastrophe. In fact, in an interview I just played with Mnuchin said the same thing. He was like, look, the programs didn't even really have to do anything. The fact that we announced that they were there stabilized a lot of things going on within the economy and within the markets. So yeah, I just don't appreciate all the lying that keeps going on. Like, it just makes me mad because it's like, we're not stupid. Quit lying to us. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit ticked today. I don't know. I guess I'm feeling a little rowdy because of my rainbow shirt. It's repping me up. Okay. So it says these programs are currently set to expire on December 31st and need Mnuchin's permissions to continue since the Treasury controls the money that lawmakers set aside to backstop them. He isn't giving it. In a letter to Powell, he said he would let the corporate debt facility sunset in the new year, along with programs that let the central bank buy municipal bonds and get loans for small businesses. He then went a step further and asked the Fed to return any unused cash to the Treasury so that it could be used elsewhere. This was the most important bit. In theory, the next Treasury Secretary could give the Fed permission to restart these credit vehicles, but taking away the current funding would make that much harder. Well, hold on, because the fact checkers didn't do their job. Let's look at this. It says, he went a step further and asked the Fed to return any unused cash to the Treasury so that it could be used elsewhere. No, that's not what he said. He said, I want you to return the money so we can give it back to Congress, so Congress can reappropriate it and vote where it needs to go to help people right now, and it helps the next stimulus bill. They act like he's just getting it back to use as he wants at his discretion, which is elsewhere. So do you see how manipulative this is written? It's manipulative in a way that just really skews everything. So that says, this is the most important part. In theory, the next Treasury Secretary could give the Fed permission to restart these credit vehicles, but taking away the current funding would make that much harder. Well, of course, but if these are programs that aren't working, and if per the laws of the CARES Act, the money's not spent, then there's nothing else that can be done. And furthermore, the Democrats have really done a good job at doing the carrot in front of the donkey to all of us, saying we're about to pass stimulus, and they knew they weren't going to. I think to anybody with half a brain cell, even people who don't like Trump, it was very clear the Democrats were not going to do anything with stimulus to help us until the election was over. And I'm going to take it a step further. I don't think they're going to do anything until Biden is in office. I think they might give the appearance of, just like they did right before the election, and then they don't do anything because they don't want to do anything to make it look like they give Trump a win. That's how stupid this is. That's how kindergarten this is, guys. And I also think they aren't very confident on their position as Biden being president-elect, because they know they basically just brainwashed everybody, as they always do, by having the media call it, and the media can't really call it. And there's too many outstanding issues when it comes to President Trump and what's really going on. So keep this in mind. It just makes me mad when I see these consistent lies. So it says, he isn't giving in. And he's talking about Mnuchin. Mnuchin isn't giving in. In a letter to Powell, he said he would let the corporate debt facility sunset. The Federal Reserve, for its part, is visibly ticked off about this turn of events. Earlier this week, Powell had suggested that he thought now is too early to end the emergency lending program, saying, when the right time comes, I don't think that time is yet or very soon, we will put those tools away. Then in response to Mnuchin's letter, the Fed shocked many observers with a rare public statement breaking with Treasury, saying the Fed Reserve would prefer that the full suite of emergency facilities established during the virus pandemic continue to serve their important role as a backstop for our still strained and vulnerable economy, it said. While the language was dry, make no mistake, For the financial markets, this was the equivalent of mom and dad having a screaming match in the car. And that is very correct. The Fed and the Treasury typically don't argue, guys. That's not typically something that they do. It's possible that the demise of these programs wouldn't make much of a difference to the grand scheme of things. Not for the regular people who need help. It's so manipulative. The Fed hasn't really had to fire its cash cannon since arming up because investors have been so reassured by its mere presence. And it says the central bank has bought just $13.5 billion of corporate debt after promising to snap up as much as $750 billion if it needed to. The bond market could go on working fine once the corporate loan program is shut down for good. The small business and municipal lending efforts, meanwhile, have largely been seen as a bust because the Treasury insisted on saddling them with erroneous terms. It says the small business and municipal lending efforts, meanwhile, have largely been seen as a bust because the Treasury, they're blaming it on the Treasury that these programs haven't worked, insisted on saddling them with onerous terms. So what are they referring to? As Mnuchin noted in his letter, the Fed may be able to restart some of the programs using the money in its exchange stabilization fund, which technically contains $74 billion, though it's not clear how much of that is actually available. To the extent these need to be reactivated, we have over $800 billion of capacity, so I consider that to be pretty good bazooka, he told CNBC. So I want to break this down again. He's blaming the Treasury, saying the Treasury hasn't allowed these programs to help the small businesses because they've had erroneous terms, but then doesn't say what that is. Maybe they want the article. I'll give it a shot. Let's see. It says, still, there's no real way around the fact that Mnuchin is trying to cut down the reassuring safety net that has kept investors calm for the past 10 months, while potentially boxing Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi in as they haggle the next virus relief package. Although it's been a disappointment so far, Democrats have been looking to spruce up the municipal bond program as a way to get aid to state and local governments if Republicans refuse to include enough of it in a bill. As the New York Times writes, taking that program off the table would leave Democrats with fewer options and give Republicans another bargaining chip in stimulus negotiations. Mnuchin, of course, says his intentions are pure, but that's hard to take seriously. Wonder why? In his letter to Powell, he says that he was bound by law to wind the programs down because Congress intended the programs to end by December 31st. That's correct. But last month, he said Treasury would consider extending them beyond that point depending on the state of the market. Right, depending on the state of the market. But the market, so far, is okay. It's us that are struggling and need help. He has also claimed that it's his right to phase the programs out because they've already done their job, which would be more convincing if the pandemic weren't entering a new terrifying phase this winter. Well, the pandemic can be helped if we get more money immediately to help us. Like, it's so manipulative. He also said that using the Fed's money for other purposes would save taxpayers money, telling CNBC we have $500 billion to use on fiscal stimulus that won't cost taxpayers a penny. But that too is untrue. When it scored the CARES Act, the Congressional Budget Office concluded that the money used to backstop the Fed programs would effectively have zero cost to the taxpayer because it didn't expect the central bank to actually lose much money on its lending. Taking that cash and actually spending it elsewhere, on the other hand, would actually add to the deficit. Okay, I'm just going to say it again. We need help. Not the people at the top. We need help. What comes next is a bit murky. Of the $450 billion Congress appropriated, the Treasury Department has only committed $195 billion to the Fed's programs so far. It's not obvious that Mnuchin has the legal power to ask for that money back, in which case the Fed may be able to continue lending. However, it's entirely possible that Powell will choose to return the cash in order to prevent a messy brawl with the current administration, which is the sort of thing the Fed generally tries to avoid. The big picture, though, is that Mnuchin is attempting to kick the supporters from the economy when there's no obvious need. It's a sad last act for one of the few sort of decent figures in Trump world. In Trump, just because Trump appointed him, just because he's there as a result of maybe Trump appointing him, doesn't mean he's in Trump world. He's been, again, do you guys see? I just wanted to point out how absolutely manipulative this was and how full of mis and disinformation. Or they would say certain things like about the Treasury. Well, people can't get the loans because of what the Treasury did, but then don't specify why. Now, I want to put something out, one other thing, and then we're going to get into the meat and bones of this from the Wall Street Journal. Now, I'm really happy about this because finally somebody is actually seeing what I'm seeing and what other people are seeing in the situation. It says, Steve Mnuchin's finest hour. The Treasury chief decided to end the Fed's emergency programs as Congress intended. Thank you, Wall Street Journal. And the Wall Street Journal's hit and miss on whether or not they'll do any decent reporting, to be honest. Steve Mnuchin's finest hour. The Treasury chief decides to end the Fed emergency program as Congress intended. The late, great Milton Friedman used to say that nothing is so permanent as a temporary government program. That's one of the many reasons taxpayers should thank the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, for moving to end most of the Federal Reserve's special pandemic lending facilities on December 31st, as Congress intended. Finally, he's getting some praise because I think he deserves it. This isn't popular at the Fed, which likes its growing ability to allocate credit and please politicians with loans to their allies. It also won't go down well on most of Wall Street, which loves the Fed backstops. And Democrats are unhappy because they want a long-term call on the Fed for their own political ends. But Mr. Mnuchin has acted in the best interest of the economy and the federal fiscal. And the fact of the financial markets and politics explain why. Specifically, Mr. Mnuchin asked Mr. Powell in a letter Thursday to end the facilities that the Fed stood up with money under the March CARES Act. This includes the state and municipal lending programs, primary and secondary corporate credit facilities, the Main Street lending facility for businesses, and the program for asset-backed securities. All of these programs were created in an emergency at the onset of the pandemic when the financial markets were in danger of the melting down. The Fed also stood up facilities without CARES Act money for commercial paper, money market funds, and primary dealer credit. The programs worked. Even as the pandemic and government shutdowns have waxed and waned, financial markets have healed. Lending spreads have fallen and liquidity is ample in nearly all markets. The facilities worked even without the Fed doing much lending. Again, this is what Mnuchin said. Their existence alone helped restore the confidence. Treasury provided some $195 billion in CARES Act funding to backstop the facilities, but the Fed has made only $25 billion in loans or funding for other assets. Small and large businesses have ample access to credit, and so do cities and states. Democrats are squawking about the municipal liquidity facility going away, but so far, it has made only 2 loans, one to the sorry state of Illinois for $1.2 billion, and one to New York's Metropolitan Transportation Authority for $450 million. New Jersey considered the Fed facility, but this week it floated $3.7 billion in bonds, paying 1.95% in the private markets, and the offer was oversubscribed. If even a deadbeat like Trenton can tap the private markets, there's no need for the Fed to do the lending. Mr. Mnuchin has also asked the Fed to return $455 billion in unused CARES Act funding to the Treasury. That money will sit in the general fund and Congress can reappropriate it for other uses. It could pay for a new virus relief bill if Speaker Pelosi ever agrees to compromise, or it could be used to reduce the deficit. This is almost, guys, it's almost over, but I just want to go over some of this. It says, none of this means the Fed is out of ammo. Mr. Mnuchin has extended for 90 days 4 Fed facilities that were set up with pre-CARES Act money in the Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund, the ESF. That includes the commercial paper and money market programs. The ESF also retains some $80 billion and $50 billion of that could quickly be used for leverage, as much as $500 billion in lending if needed. The Fed will also retain $25 billion in its facilities that it could use to leverage another $250 billion. The Fed issued a statement on Thursday griping about Mnuchin's decision, which proves the secretary's point. Chairman Powell is behaving like a politician these days, opining on fiscal policy that is not part of his mandate. Thank you. But it would be I can't say the word. It would be a blank of his authority, a negative use of his authority, please infer, and a rejection of congressional intent if he refuses to return the $455 billion to the Treasury. I'm so glad there's actually one place that's calling him out. Like it says, again, listen to this. The Fed issued a statement on Thursday griping about Mnuchin's decision, which proves the secretary's point. Chairman Powell's behaving like a politician these days, opining on fiscal policy that is not part of his mandate. Thank you. He'd essentially be saying that any money handed to the Fed in an emergency is the Fed's to use for whatever purpose as long as the central bank wants. And that's why I'm looking at this going, why is this? And again, with what we just saw, could anybody see the sabotage or the offense to buying that the money isn't there? There's not. So or is it just these corrupt people at the top, as always, just want to spend the money for whatever of their own uses they want to? So it says he'd essentially be saying that any money handed to the Fed in an emergency is the Fed's to use for whatever purpose and for as long as the central bank wants. This would be an unprecedented intrusion into fiscal policy. Yes, girl. And it would make Congress understandably reluctant to hand more money to the Fed in the future. Senators Mike Crapo and Pat Toomey, who negotiated the CARES Act language in detail, issued statements Thursday supporting Congress's intent to terminate the emergency programs on December 31st. Good. Late Friday, Mr. Powell replied in a letter to Mr. Mnuchin that the Fed will work with the Treasury to return the money. Good. The termination is also important to limit the demands by politicians to use the Fed for policies they can't get through Congress. Yes! 4 senators, including Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, wrote Messrs. Powell and Mnuchin this month urging that the Fed programs be expanded. Democrats want the Fed to bail out states, invest in public works, add climate mandates, and promote minority justice. I have to say the words carefully. The U.S. economy doesn't need more politicized credit. Political actors rarely cede power or money they've received in emergencies, and thus do temporarily programs become permanent. Mr. Mnuchin has done a public service in breaking that pattern, and Mr. Powell will as well, if he follows that good example. So interesting how they're saying, well, this is going to sabotage Biden. I'm like, why? The Fed still has access to billions of dollars if needed. So how is this going to sabotage him? Is it because they were going to use that money to bail things out that they've all messed up? Is that what this was? Which I keep wondering more and more as time goes on. So I wanted to kind of give you guys both perspectives of what you're going to hear and how awful old Mnuchin is terrible. And to kind of tell you from my perspective, I think it's horse crap. I think it's just a big load of horse crap. Now, where does that leave us with executive orders, emergency checks, and Trump? Here's what we're going to get into. So this is from yahoo.com, which got this from Business Insider. It says, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows says he can't guarantee the federal government will avoid a shutdown next month. And you're looking at me going, okay, Katie, what does this have to do with us getting stimulus checks? Wouldn't that be bad for us in getting stimulus checks? The answer might surprise you. So I want to go into this. So here's the thing. On December 11th, there is going to be a government shutdown if we don't do a stopgap measure to give the government more funding. Now, in that also includes the people at the top. Mnuchin, Pelosi, the Congress, everybody's affected by this except the president, because the president doesn't take a paycheck, which I always think is funny that people they never talk about that. That's a good thing. That's wonderful that he doesn't have to take a paycheck from the people, but he's always just horrible, says the media. And I'm not even pro-Trump. I'm just pro-common sense, guys. So what happened was they're going to have to do a stopgap measure. They had to do one in October. I think it was like sometime in October. They had to do one to stop from things shutting down, and they did. Remember Nancy Pelosi, she said, I'm not going to piecemeal any deals. I'm not going to extend unemployment or help with stimulus checks or any other programs or rent programs. We're not going to piecemeal anything. But she decided to piecemeal legislation for the post office. Makes sense now, doesn't it? For the post office. And she also decided to piecemeal for the stopgap to protect her bag. Oh, this woman drives me nuts. So December 11th is coming. What's the date? So the date is the 23rd. This is the November 23rd. So this is like about 2-3 weeks away, 2.5 to 3 weeks away, right? From this time period. Now, Trump was recently asked if he was going to sign the stopgap measure. Trump didn't say anything. I've said before, and I'll say it continuously because in my opinion, it's the truth. Trump is a wild card. Love him, hate him, indifferent. He is a big old wild card. And in being the big old wild card that he is, you can't predict what he's going to do. But here's the thing, you have to listen to what he says and what he doesn't say. Trump, many times, yes, he does puffery to lying and exaggerate. We know how he operates. He's a businessman. He's in real estate. That's his way of doing marketing and advertising for himself. That's just how a lot of those people come off. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying from a business perspective, I understand it. But many times Trump will say something off the wall and he then does it. Or there's another point to it. So you have to listen not just to what he says, but what he doesn't say. Stanley on The Office, listen to the pauses. Please sound up in the comments if you know what that means. If you don't, I'll fill you guys in another day. I love The Office. There's just a funny scene where like the boss is trying to figure out if his boss likes him and she doesn't. And so the guy is just like feeding him crap because he wants to get a raise. Listen to the pauses in her voice. So anyways, now we have Mnuchin, or sorry, not Mnuchin. Been talking about minutia all day. So I got minutia on the brain. So we have Mark Meadows now saying that he's not going to guarantee that the federal government will avoid a shutdown. Let's go into this and I'll tell you what this means. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows said Wednesday he couldn't guarantee the federal government would avoid a shutdown in December. Obviously, we want to keep the government funded, Meadows said, according to a Capitol Hill pool report. Both parties are still negotiating an attempt to bridge the policy division. Says White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows said on Wednesday he couldn't guarantee the federal government would avoid a shutdown in December. While he did not rule out a shutdown, Meadows said both parties were trying to reach an agreement to finance government agencies and keep them open. Obviously, we want to keep the government funded, Meadows said, according to a Capitol Hill pool reporter. He called it a high priority. The Trump administration and Congress must approve a dozen spending bills to fund most government agencies by December 11th, and those negotiations are ongoing. Both parties are still attempting to bridge divisions over public health funding and childcare, among other issues. Lawmakers could also strike an agreement on a continuing resolution that would maintain existing federal agency funding for a short period of time. If neither outcome materializes, swaths of the government will be shut down. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. In 2018, President Donald Trump presided over the longest shutdown in U.S. history, which lasted 35 days. He had demanded Congress fund a border wall with Mexico. Meadows' comments come as Trump still refuses to acknowledge President-elect Joe Biden defeated him. He appeared to have mostly withdrawn from legislative matters while attempting to contest the election outcome. And that is true. Trump has been MIA on everything. And I said that this is probably going to be the case because he's going to be focused on getting things overturned, which is what they are still attempting to do. And he won't acknowledge it because technically, until all of this is settled, Joe Biden there is no president-elect yet. Congress remains gridlocked on another virus relief package, which many economists say is needed to support people and hard-hit businesses as virus cases surge nationwide. There are no ongoing discussions between top congressional leaders on another federal rescue package so far. On Tuesday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called on the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to restart relief talks. Nearly 12 million people could lose their unemployment benefits at the end of the year if lawmakers failed to extend jobless aid to a new analysis from left-leaning Century Foundation. 12 million people. I think that's more like 20. That's much higher. Because as we know with unemployment, it's the PUA and the extended benefits that are ending. Lifelines for people. McConnell on Wednesday said Republicans, Democrats, and the Trump administration all sought to approve an omnibus package that included the 12 separate spending bills for federal agencies. It's our hope, and I think this is the speaker's view as well, that we can come together on an omnibus and pass it, McConnell told reporters on Capitol Hill. I believe that's the preference of the White House as well. So, ultimately, what do I think is happening and where do I think things are going from here with what we're seeing? I'm going to lightly point out a few things that seem a little strange to me. So first of all, we've had Mnuchin, who works very closely, as I've said, with the Trump administration. He's not necessarily pro or anti-Trump, but he's worked closely with them to really help people. And we have Trump, who has screamed he wants more and bigger help for the people, but that he wants to make sure it goes to the people and not just bailing out Nancy Pelosi's poorly run state, as well as a lot of these other left states that have just gone to crap. And I'm not trying to knock on you if you are from the left, but let's be honest. Why is everybody from California fleeing to Colorado and Texas? How is it Texas was almost flipped blue? Because people from California are fleeing because the state is just horrible. Everybody's homeless, the state's on fire, the taxes are too high, it's a mess. They don't run cities well. So, hear me out. Remember Trump had said a while ago, he had said that he thinks he could pass direct stimulus checks on his own to the people. He says there's a theory I could do it. We have money we could reappropriate to do this. I would rather go through the way of Congress doing it, but But he started threatening, and he did this after those first executive actions and those orders that, remember, everybody said, he can't do this, he can't pass it, and then he did. So what does all of this mean? I think it's possible that we are seeing the start of some redistribution. I'm going to call it redistribution of wealth to us, because I feel like stimulus doesn't go far enough for what I think I'm possibly seeing the signs of. And you guys know, when it comes to stimulus, I've said some stuff that people have argued tooth and nail with me, and then I was right. I was one of the only channels saying emergency stimulus executive orders. Everybody said it was nuts, and it happened. And it's because I study these characters. I see what they're doing. I know how they act. I know all the little intricacies and the minutia of how they behave. And I can kind of see what's coming when it comes to a lot of these people by their actions, by their words, by what they say, by what they don't say, their body language, facial expressions, tones, all of that. I take all of that. And I don't just cherry pick little ones or one here and there. I try to wait till I see enough significant signs. I find it very interesting that all of a sudden, Steve is now saying, we're done with these programs. We need the money to put into Congress. And Trump has been very, very quiet. With Trump previously threatening stimulus checks, is it possible he could try to use this money to do stimulus checks in some form of an executive order? Now, I'm going to have to dive more into this, but I had heard the other day that basically lawyers from the Treasury and the Fed said Trump does not have the authority to take that money and reallocate it. However, Trump said there are loopholes and theories I can do it. I think if Trump is going to have to try to convince the American people that he is an ex-president-elect, this would be a great marketing and advertising tool to get people on his side while he battles his position as to why he should be the president and not Biden. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen. I am just, like, I can make certain predictions, and I'm telling you, I'm starting to see weird signs. And as I'm seeing them, I'm seeing things pointed in our direction for help. And just the fact that Trump has been so quiet, things are not as they appear. That is what that tells me. And I'm not saying that necessarily good or bad. I will tell you the signs to me look good. And the fact that Mnuchin is saying they want to try to get stimulus help to us by the end of December is fantastic. Now, here's the last part I'm going to go over. Is that going to work? My fear is Mitch McConnell and Mnuchin can bend over backwards to try to get the Democrats on board. I don't think the Democrats have any intention of helping us until they have Biden securely in office, because they know that that stimulus money is going to protect them. And they want to make sure Biden, the lackey, is going to do what they want him to do. My concern is, even if we try to have somebody like Mnuchin step up, get Mitch McConnell involved, and get them back negotiating, it's going to be the carrot and the stick again. Now, with that being said, we need help. What better way would it be for Trump to get the American people on his side than to say this Christmas, you're all getting a bonus from the government, and we all get a $1,000 check? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I am saying, as I'm seeing these weird things, I'm seeing possibilities start to open, and I'm going to put these ideas out. Let me know, do you guys think I'm on the right path here? Do you see it's getting kind of weird? I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but I also, you guys know me, I'm going to be honest with what I interpret and what I see, and I'm just seeing some very interesting stuff. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, guys, sound off in the comments. I want to hear everything you have to say and think. I love it. And you guys know, if you sound off in the comments, typically within the first hour, you're going to get a response from me, because I like to sit there and respond to everybody. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you know that are struggling right now. People who are on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, stimulus checks, SBA loan and grant issues, and everything in between. Guys, I've got tons of tools and tons of resources to help you all through this difficult time, and I would love nothing more than to do just that. And guys, the more you like, subscribe, comment, hit notifications, and share the content, the more the channel grows, and the more the channel grows, the more things I can do to give back to you guys. So for instance, giving away my $100 gift cards, very simple. This is all you have to do to be entered and eligible. Like our video, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom. That's it, you're entered, that's all you have to do. Like every video you see, and the more comments you leave, the more chances you have to win. If you leave 100 comments, 100 times more chance you're gonna win a gift card. Yay, good luck. I want everybody to win, but I can't go broke. So let's make me and this channel successful, and I will give back to you guys and help as much as I can. And I love you guys so much for that. Add me on Facebook, Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group, Katie's Corner. Will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. Go in there. We have British Gray, our moderator, and all of our wonderful group members. We're all sharing information on where you can get stimulus help in your area right now. Okay, guys, I'm going to end this video here, but I have more information coming, so just stay tuned. Take care, blessings. I end this video every time by saying, I am so incredibly grateful to every single one of you. I'll talk about this in a video, but today, so I try to film sometimes the day before, so you're seeing this, so what I'm saying is a little bit late, but today for me is November 23rd, November 22nd, it's November 23rd for you guys. I had the biggest upswing on my channel. We hit 5,000 views in 1 hour, which is which would be something like similar that I would pull into the other channel. And you guys know I've had so many hiccups. I've had so many things happening where I can't grow this channel. And knowing how many hiccups I've had and watching us have an upswing, and we've gotten over 200 subscribers today, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I almost started crying in just sheer gratitude, going, my God, I couldn't have done this without all of you. You have changed my life. You are now making it so that hopefully, if we can keep this going, in the next month, I can start really giving back like I did before. Now, if I can keep this, again, it's if I can keep this up, I won't just be scraping by. You will allow me to live and allow me to give back more to you guys. And I just want to tell you how humbled I am, how grateful I am, and how much you've changed my life and impacted my life. And I just want to thank you from the top, the bottom, and the whole of my heart. Thank you so much. And I will do everything I can and dedicate myself to be of service to you guys in whatever way that I can. Okay, guys, I'm going to end this video here now. I'm going to go take a break and just be in gratitude and just be praying for everybody and just thanking God for every single one of you. Okay, guys, take care. Blessings. I will see you soon. And just keep the hope, guys. Good things are coming. We just have to keep the hope and wear our rainbow shirts. Okay, love you guys. Hugs and kisses. Mwah. See you soon.